Hi, it's Lee, and welcome to the Tesla Economist. Wow, what an earnings call. This was brilliant on so many levels and has really met my expectations for the future direction of this company. There's so much to go through, so rather than just gloss over what was said and summarize what you already heard, I'd rather go into more depth as to what I think it all means. Elon seems very excited about Q4. He says it looks like an epic end of the year, which is good to hear as it confirms what we have hoped and expected, judging by the current rates we've seen. Giga Berlin is still hitting 2,000 cars a week and very high quality. But also Giga Texas should also hit that rate very soon too, Elon says. In fact, yesterday's run rate was the equivalent of 2,000 cars a week. So presumably almost 300 cars came off the line in Texas yesterday. This is very good news, as most of us have been fairly conservative about the progress happening in Texas and with the 4680 sales. This is, however, very promising to see Texas up at this rate. There was no mention of where these two factories will be at the end of the quarter. Last we heard was that Berlin would be at 5,000 a week at the start of next year, so possibly Texas is only slightly further behind, which could make for a very promising Q1, but also more than we've previously forecast for their production for Q4. Then Elon talks about 4680 production, the main topic I was looking forward to hearing. The production has tripled in Q3 over Q2, and they're finally gaining rapid traction on 4680 cell, and its output is growing rapidly, and they expect to start incorporating it in cars and it becoming a significant part of their production in Texas in coming months. They also have their second generation of manufacturing equipment for 4680 cells in Texas, which continues to show great progress compared to the original pilot line in Fremont, Cato Road. So despite how good Cato Road production is going, the Texas 4680 lines have a new generation of manufacturing equipment. The last I heard, each line in Texas was estimated to reach 25 gigawatt hours a year, and there are currently 4 lines. And I've heard that this may potentially expand to 10 lines. So there we go. Elon seems pretty confident with the 4680 cells. But what's really important here is that we're not hearing him say, we're still struggling with some of the issues in manufacturing 4680s and expect further delays, perhaps for another couple of quarters, and perhaps we won't see the Cybertruck in production until 2024. No bad news is good news. And it seems to be going about how Tesla were hoping, at least close enough by the sounds of it. I know, I keep going on about it, but the 4680 ramp is just going to be so good for the company, especially when they start getting all the subsidies for the batteries and the tax credits for them in the US. In addition to that, something that was not mentioned on the call was the 4680 progress in Berlin. In the earnings report, it said, we plan to introduce front castings and structural battery packs at Gigafactory Berlin before the end of this year. So all that FUD that we were hearing about 4680 production stopping in Berlin and moving over to Texas may not be true. If we start seeing 4680 production in Berlin this year too, then this is better than I expected. I guess they just want to get started there as soon as they can, as ramping is not the easiest. Perhaps they will be ramped in time for when the 2170 supply starts to dwindle. I can't wait to see where we are with this company by about the middle of next year. Elon says that after AI Day, they are seeing a massive influx on world-class AI researchers' resumes, and it's becoming clear to the smartest AI technologists in the world that Tesla is the best and the place to work. In about a month's time, Tesla will launch FSD beta nationwide in the US, and the safety they're seeing when people use FSD is better than when it's not, which may imply FSD is safer than a human. Elon talks about demand, as that has obviously been a huge part of the FUD lately, of which I've been trying to debunk over time, and even supposed bulls have been adding to this FUD too. But here we go, we can hear it from Elon to confirm all of what I'd been saying this time. He says, I can't emphasize enough, we have excellent demand for Q4, and we expect to sell every car we make as far as the future we can see, with the factories running at full speed, delivering every car they make and keeping operating margins strong. Okay, could Elon be any clearer here? Just in case it's still not clear enough to everyone, I will elaborate further. Tesla is not slowing down any of their production in order to reduce supply due to a lower demand. In fact, the opposite is happening. Tesla is ramping up their factories even more. Tesla will still deliver every single one of these cars that they make to customers who are ordering these cars because the demand is so strong. And they will keep operating margins strong, which implies that they do not need to reduce prices in order to meet this additional demand from the additional supply of the ramping up. Tesla still has a very small percentage of cars on the road. 3.5 million out of 2 billion on the road. Not even 1/5% of cars are a Tesla on the road today, at least globally. Of course, a lot of the cities you all live in, you see Teslas everywhere. But there are still a lot of other vehicles that need to be replaced. We're still in very early days. All right, moving on. So to much of your surprise, Tesla are definitely considering a buyback. I made a video recently outlining the advantages and disadvantages of what a buyback would mean to Tesla. I expected that if they did, it would be in the region of about $10 billion, and Elon says it would likely be a significant amount, around 5 to 10 billion, probably more closer to 10 billion. Even though there is a downside in the economy next year, they still have the ability to do a buyback. Elon goes on to say that whilst the market focuses on the short term, investors should focus on the long term. There are local ups and downs, but the long-term trend has been extremely good, and it continues to show that trend. Elon says that he once said that Tesla would be worth more than Apple one day, and it did achieve a higher market cap than Apple was at the time Elon said. But here's the really fun part. Elon says he sees a potential path for Tesla to be worth more than Apple and Saudi Aramco combined at their current prices. He says this is not guaranteed, will not be easy, and will require a lot of work, but there is the potential that it could happen, which is likely what a lot of us also thought, and the $10 trillion market cap is often thrown around as a potential target for 2030. Elon goes on to say that this doesn't include Optimus and is pretty much vehicles and energy. In case you're wondering, Aramco is worth about 2.09 trillion and Apple is 2.31 at the time of this video. That combined is $4.4 trillion valuation. Elon doesn't give a timeline on when he expects this to happen, but in all honesty, with a PE ratio of 50, I would guess around 2025, the beginning of the year, or even sometime in 2024 if things go really well with 4680 sales. That is just over 6 times today's current price, which in all fairness, the stock is down about half from the previous all-time high, but still 3 times the all-time high would be crazy. My target is actually $666, nothing to do with Satan or anything, it's just that it was previously $2,000 before the split. And for me, Tesla hitting that price takes my financial position to a life I can afford everything I wanted. Although the previous all-time high wasn't far off there, to be honest. Except the thing is, you'd have to sell all your shares to realize that profit. And then what do you buy with it? What if owning Tesla is what derives you the most joy? Then in reality, it doesn't really make too much difference, as you would essentially own the same amount of Tesla. But anyway, Elon says this will require good luck, creative new products, and successful mass expansion. He says this is the first time he has seen Tesla able to be roughly twice the size of Aramco, which is kind of strange, as on battery day, they were talking about 3 terawatt-hours in-house themselves, plus their suppliers. And Elon has talked about how nutty the robotaxi numbers are. So I'm sure he's done those numbers before. But perhaps these were contingent on FSD working and 4680s ramping, both of which were not guaranteed back then. And perhaps what he is really saying is that he can see FSD will become everything he'd hoped, and 4680s are going to be able to ramp something crazy. He says this is the first time he has seen that potential, and Tesla has an incredible product portfolio, the most exciting product portfolio than anyone else in the world. Some that we know about and some that we don't. And they are on the final lap with Cybertruck and making a lot of progress on the robotaxi platform design, which is all insane, but we'll have to get into it into the next video. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.